Come to my presentation. The topic of my presentation is preventing foodborne illness. So, in Canada, the food and nutrition management industry places great emphasis on preventing foodborne illness by following legislations and regulations set by the federal and provincial government. Health Canada established policies and set food safety standards, while the Canadian Food Inspection Agency enforces these standards. Federal Act and regulation related to food safety include the Food and Drug Act and the Safe Food for Canadian Act. Among these two acts, Food and Drug Act is the important agency that comes under Federal Act and regulations. Provincial food safety laws such as the Ontario Food Premises Regulations and Ontario Food Safety and Quality Act are also in place to ensure food safety. Talking about foodborne illness are usually infectious or toxic in nature and caused by bacteria, virus, parasite, or chemical substance or physical substance that enter the body through contaminated food. There are mainly four causes of foodborne illness: chemical contaminations, due to physical contaminations, due to some allergens, or due to microbiological contaminations. According to Public Health Ontario, bacterial illness are the most common type of foodborne illness in Ontario. Besides the four main causes of foodborne illness, the top 10 improper food handling methods that cause foodborne illness are improper cooling, advanced preparations, infected persons, inadequate reheating for hot holding, improper hot holding, contaminated raw food or ingredient, unsafe source, use of leftovers, cross contaminations, and inadequate cooking. So these are also the main cause or some of the cause or the method if we handle the food improperly that cause the foodborne illness. Health Canada report that every year 4 million Canadians get sick from foodborne illness, over 11,000 Canadians are hospitalized, and more than 200 people die. Talking about the symptoms of foodborne illness, some of the symptoms are stomach cramps, diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, and fever. Impact of foodborne illness. If we talk about the impact of foodborne illness, then beside the health impact, it has found that the average cost of foodborne illness outbreak to Canadian taxpayers estimated to between 12 and 14 billion every year, and some of these costs are medical costs such as doctor visit, hospitalizations and medication, investigation costs like the health unit doing tests to confirm the type of foodborne illness, loss of productivity including sick people missing work and food premises having to close during an investigations, and legal and higher insurance costs if food premises is sued by those who got sick. The majority of foodborne illness in Canada are caused by food handling mistake, poor personal hygiene, or contaminated food preparation surface or equipment. So several people and organizations share responsibility for preventing foodborne disease, and preventing foodborne infection in long-term care facilities in Ontario is a joint responsibility of several parties including long-term care home operators, food services staffs like dietary aid, food service managers, supervisors, public health units, and residents and families. So some of the significance of preventing foodborne illness. Why we should prevent foodborne illness? Because for to safeguard public health and for the purpose of maintaining food security, to preserve reputation of any organizations or any long-term care home, minimizing negative economic effect. We already talked about the economic impact caused by the foodborne illness, and also to avoid legal consequences. So, for preventing foodborne illness, we can get some training, or we can learn some training like personal hygiene and workplace behavior training, time and temperature control training, cleaning and sanitizing, maintaining food premises and equipment. To prevent foodborne illness, everyone who works with food they should understand how food can become contaminated and the different types of food contaminations like physicals, microbiologicals, chemicals. Know about potential hazardous food, also called high risk food. They should also know what types of food are potentially hazard. Understand the cause of foodborne illness. Know how to safely store thaw, prepare, cook, and serve food, know how to effectively clean and sanitize surface, equipment, dishes, and utensils, and also they should understand the importance of personal hygiene and appropriate behavior in the workplace. So, the procedure to prevent the foodborne illness all comes under these sections. So now talking about the procedure, so the first thing is cleaning and sanitation. So we should always make sure all food handlers wash their hands properly after any job that could dirty their hands, like using the toilet, eating, handling raw meats, blowing their nose, smoking, etc. After handling raw foods, always wash your hands properly before doing anything else. Also, food handlers with infected cuts on their hands or arms, any kind of wounds or hurts, must not handle food or utensil unless the cuts are properly covered. Otherwise, there may be the bacterial infections or the food is contaminated due to bacteria or some organisms. When using gloves or finger cuts, food handlers must still wash their hands as well. Gloves or cords must be replaced if they are swelled, have a hole, or and at the end of each day. Where possible, avoid direct hand contact with food, especially ready-to-eat foods. Like use plastic utensils, plastic or latex gloves instead of using a direct hand. Do not use hot hold units to reheat food. Instead, rapidly reheat to 74 degrees centigrade and hold the food at that temperature for at least 15 seconds before putting it in the hot hold unit. This will kill pathogens that may have grown during the cool down step and reheat step. So if using direct heat, the temperature of the reheated food must reach at least 74 degrees centigrade for at least 15 seconds within 2 hours. If using a microwave, we should rotate or stir the food at least once during the reheat step, as microwaves does not heat the food evenly. As well, the food must be heated at least 74 degrees centigrade and the stand cover for 2 minutes after reheating before adding to the hot hold unit. Also, do not use the hot hold unit to reheat cold foods. It is not designed for or capable of doing this rapidly. After the lunch or dinner rush, do not turn off the heat in the hot hold unit and then leave the food there to cool. This is very dangerous. It stays hot in the super danger zone and lets pathogens grow quickly. Similarly, we should not mix leftover food with fresh foods. Also, be sure to follow the proper cooling and reheating procedures when handling leftovers. These are critical control points. And also, to prevent contamination, we can use separate cutting boards, separate cleaning clothes, knives, utensils, sinks, preparation areas, etc. for raw and for ready to eat foods. Similarly, we have to use separate compartment to store raw and ready to eat meats. We have to always store ready to eat food on separate shelves and above raw foods, and store dry foods above wet foods. So prepare ready to eat foods at the beginning of the day before the raw foods are prepared. If a customer indicate a food allergy, follow all the same steps to avoid cross contamination. So you have to follow those steps which prevent cross contaminations, and use separate or freshly sanitized tools and utensils to prepare food for the individual with allergy. So these are the procedures which helps to prevent the foodborne illness, and most of these procedures I think most of we have applied in the while working in our placement, either as a dietary aid or kitchen, or either as a supervisor. So yeah, these are the common steps where we usually followed in our day-to-day life, and we should follow this to prevent the foodborne illness. So at conclusion, before handling food and after handling raw food, in a particular, food handlers should thoroughly wash their hands after engaging in any activity that should contaminate them. It means we have to sanitize and clean our hands before touching the food. Also, before handling food or cutlery, infected cuts on the hands or arms should be covered, or we should not handle the food when there is cut or wounds in our hand. And also the food should be cooked at appropriate temperature. Temperature and time is also an important factor to prevent the foodborne illness. We can cook different types of food at different temperature, like fish, and meat, and egg, and vegetables, and also we should maintain the temperature so that the bacteria or the microorganism does not grow and doesn't contaminate the food. Food that are raw and those that are ready to consume should be cooked, handled, and kept separately. And food allergies should also be taken into considerations. So these are the summary. How can so these are the some of the points on the summary how we can prevent the foodborne illness. So the text question: what is the most common type of foodborne illness? What are the basic of food safety? And what is the main regulating legislations at the federal level for food safety in Canada?